Hello and welcome to the Big D Breakdown. As always, I'm your host, Larry Lease. Today we're diving into all the latest headlines coming out of AT&T Stadium. Before we do that, give me your thoughts, of course, on all the topics we covered in the comment section below, and let's keep this conversation going. And of course, we all know that Super Bowl 60 has finally wrapped up, and the Seattle Seahawks are your world champions. So the question remains, what does Dallas need to do to copy the Seattle blueprint? In my mind, if you're the Dallas Cowboys, the first takeaway from the Seattle Seahawks Super Bowl blueprint is how intentionally the roster fit across all the phases. The Seahawks didn't win because they were loaded at every spot. They won because their strengths were mutually reinforcing. The Seahawks boast a defense that dictates terms, a run game that stays on schedule, and a quarterback plan that prioritized ball security over hero ball. In the game itself, Seattle's dark side defense produced 6 sacks, 3 takeaways, and a defensive touchdown, while the offense leaned on Kenneth Walker III and took points when they were there. For the Cowboys, the lesson is roster interdependence. They need to stop building like each unit has to be a top 3 standalone product and build so that the defense can create short fields. The offense can convert those into points without volatility, and the special teams consistently wins the margin when the game gets tight. On contract control, Seattle's win is a reminder that championships usually show up when your best players are aligned across the age and cap curve. One practical example is impact defenders on rookie deals that let a team spend elsewhere without hollowing out depth. The Cowboys' reoccurring pain point has been allowing elite extensions to drift until the market resets, like with Dak Prescott not too long ago, which compresses flexibility and forces Jerry into pay-them patch with minimum-type roster management. The lesson isn't never pay stars, it's to close deals earlier. Keep the mid-tier starter layer intact, and avoid cap cliffs that make Jerry have to choose between 2 core players in the same offseason. Seattle also showed a viable quarterback value angle. They got Super Bowl winning play from Sam Darnold by emphasizing no-turnover football and letting the defense carry the heavy load. Dallas doesn't need to copy this idea completely, just the idea that the quarterback plan and cap plan have to be married, not competing. Locker room spirit sounds fluffy until you watch it how it operates on Sundays. Seattle's defense literally branded itself and played like a unit with shared rules and role clarity with stars, specialists, and rotation guys, all executing the same violent, disciplined identity. Darnold's own comments after the game framed the team vibe as usually tight, and Mike McDonald's stamp was visible in how quickly they adjusted and how confidently they attacked. For Dallas, the actionable lesson is to create a locker room culture where roles are explicit. Leadership isn't just positional, and players need to lose the idea that just because they play for the Cowboys doesn't mean they're at the top of the NFL pyramid. On field, Seattle's tape is basically a checklist of playoff-proof football that Dallas has too often drifted away from. Watch Seattle win the line of scrimmage with pressure that doesn't require constant blitzing, protect the ball, and take points. They held New England to just 51 first-half yards, built a lead with field goals, and slammed the door shut with fourth-quarter turnovers and a defensive score. The Cowboys' lesson is to build an offense that can live in the 20s and a defense that can close games with a 4-man rush and tight coverage rules. Because in January and February, efficient and suffocating beats explosive, but fragile more often than people want to admit. So now we're going to take a look at 4 Cowboys who could have breakout seasons in 2026. Although the new league year hasn't begun, change around the Cowboys have already started, out with the old, in with the new. As Dallas has moved on from Matt Eberflus and assigned Christian Parker as the lead man to turn around a dreadful defense from 2025. The Cowboys won't completely overhaul the entire unit in just one offseason, but a lot of the players who featured prominently on that side of the ball shouldn't be expected to return. Also, let's be honest, there isn't anywhere to go but up, considering how everything played out last season. Plus, certain players should be expected to make strides and improve, not only on defense, but throughout the roster. It's never too early to look ahead to next season, and never too early to predict a breakout season. So these are just a few players who we expect to improve tremendously in 2026. Starting off with Stummer James. He had an uneven rookie season. He was pressed into playing almost 60% of the offensive snaps. By season's end, his head was spinning. Didn't help that his veteran linebacker counterparts struggled as poorly as they did, putting James in some difficult positions. However, he did gain plenty of experience out of the gate as a 5th-round pick. James had nearly 100 tackles last season, including 15 against the New York Jets. He should adjust better at recognizing defenses and route combinations and zone coverage in his second year. James had a solid foundation of physical traits to succeed. He just needs more time and more stable coaching, which he should get some time in the rotation. Then Jaden Blue. Entering this offseason, the top two running backs at the depth chart last year, Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders, will be free agents. Malik Davis is still around for now, but even if he were to step in as a starter, you'd have to think Jaden Blue would have a sizable role in the offense. Blue may have ruffled a few feathers in his rookie season among the coaching staff, making his time on the field scarce. Yet the talent is there, and in the season finale against the Giants, we saw that potential Blue has to make big plays. He has tremendous speed, and if he can show between the tackles toughness, he could be a dangerous runner with the Cowboys' interior offensive line group. He's an ideal third down back who can catch passes out of the backfield, but also with the new kickoff rules, can find a place as a kickoff return specialist alongside Kevontae Turpin. Assuming that Williams leaves in free agency, what Dallas invests in draft capital or free agent spending to replace him will have a direct result on how big a workload we can expect from Blue in 2026. And then we have Shavon Revel. The Cowboys are counting on him to be better than he was last season. The most troublesome area for the Cowboys heading into this year is cornerback. Dallas was ravaged by injury and threw whatever healthy bodies they could find to cover outside the numbers. Kalen Carson has yet to claim a role, and although the Cowboys paid a hefty sum to Daron Bland, you can also make the case that nickel is his better position. Dallas has their eyes set on a cornerback in the draft. As the prototype corner that Dallas and many teams would like to have in the draft. Revel has length and is ideal as a press man cornerback with his long arms and speed. Another year removed from an ACL injury should see him regain some of his athleticism. Fortunately for him, Christian Parker has helped many cornerbacks find their way in the league and may be able to do the same for Revel. You hate to say that Revel is in for a make-or-break year with the Cowboys, yet where the Cowboys are at cornerback, the future is now. And there may be no other choice but for Revel to thrive in the position he's in. And then we have Ryan Flournoy. Ryan had a bit of a breakout last year when he had over 400 receiving yards in his second season. He had 2 games where he had more than 100 yards receiving, so we know he can be a productive member of the offense. Yet it feels like he's going to reach new heights next year. The Jalen Tolbert experiment is likely over, and Flournoy has won over the trust of the coaching staff. As teams gear up to contain CeeDee Lamb and Pickens, who should be back next year, there will be plenty of opportunities for Flournoy to thrive. He should even see more snaps because he can do all the dirty work in addition to catching the football. Flournoy runs solid routes and has reliable hands. Dallas can very well have Pickens and Lamb go for over 1,000 yards receiving, and Flournoy gets somewhere around 700 or more. Think back to 2019 when Michael Gallup and Amari Cooper had over 1,000 yards, and Randall Cobb wasn't far behind with the 828. Dak Prescott is reaching his pinnacle as a passer, and that means his receivers are going to reap the rewards. Flournoy could be in for a big year. So, the big decisions and the big D. Who's staying and who goes for the Cowboys this offseason? The Dallas Cowboys enter the 2026 offseason standing at a familiar crossroads. The front office faces a series of pivotal contract decisions that will define the team's identity for years to come. Roster building is an exercise in ruthless prioritization. One bad deal or a premature departure can mess up the whole thing. As Jerry and Stephen Jones weigh the value of known commodities against the potential of younger replacements, the margin for error is thin. Making the right decisions this spring isn't just about balancing the books. It's about ensuring that they still have a championship window to look through. Several players will become unrestricted free agents this offseason, and a few others are under contract, but may no longer be worth their weight in gold, or in this case, silver, making them potential cap casualties. Today, we're going to look at some of the most discussed roster dilemmas and decide what makes the most sense for each situation. So starting off, we have George Pickens. Pickens was a revelation for the Cowboys in 2025, providing the vertical threat and contested catch dominance the offense had lacked. Operating as the perfect complement to CeeDee Lamb, Pickens hauled in over 1,400 yards and 9 touchdowns, consistently bailing out the offense with highlight reel grabs on third downs. His ability to draw double teams significantly lightened the load for the rest of the receiving corps, proving he is a true X receiver in every sense of the word. The Cowboys spent a third-round pick on him for a reason, and he's lived up to that. What he and Lamb can do on this offense together is too good to let go of him. So our verdict, re-sign him. Pickens catches everything thrown his way, and let's hope that includes a big bag of money this offseason. Then we have Javonte Williams. In a season where the ground game finally came to life, Javonte Williams was the engine that kept the chains moving. He turned out a career-best 1,201 yards and found the end zone 11 times. His yards after contact remained among the league's elite, and he proved to be a reliable safety valve in the passing game. With rookie Jaden Blue's struggles last season, Williams valued the team skyrocketed. So our verdict, re-sign him. Love to keep him if his price isn't too high and the team doesn't have fallback options. Next, Donovan Wilson. Wilson has long been a fan favorite for his aggressive hitman persona, but last season exposed the limitations of his game in a modern secondary. Opposing offenses continue to prioritize speed and horizontal stretching, and Wilson struggles to change direction, and his frequent lapses in deep coverage became glaring problems for the secondary. In a defensive scheme moving towards the philosophies of Christian Parker, the need for versatile, fluid safeties outweighs the need for an old-school thumper. So, our verdict, let him walk in free agency. Wilson has been the king of pop for the Cowboys secondary, but unfortunately it's time for him to beat it. Then we have Jadeveon Clowney. Clowney proved that age is just a number when you possess elite functional strength and veteran savvy. He remained a nightmare for opposing offensive tackles, particularly in run support, where he consistently set the edge and forced plays back inside. Beyond the stat sheet, his presence in the locker room provided a stabilizing influence for the younger pass rushers. He still has plenty left in the tank, and the team needs a reliable veteran presence. He shouldn't be that expensive, and the team can likely get him on a short-term deal. So, go ahead and re-sign him. Clowney has been on so many teams, he's practically an NFL tour guide. But we're still interested in what type of local attractions he has to offer. Then we have Kenny Clark. Clark remains the unsung hero of the Cowboys' defensive interior. Last year, his ability to chew up double teams was largely unrecognized, but he remained a top-tier run stuffer despite the heavy mileage on those tires. Many observers overlooked his impact because it doesn't always show up in the stat sheet. But the tape shows a different story, and that's a player who still dictates the line of scrimmage. Many people don't realize how good he still is and how helpful he is against the run. Restructure money if needed, but he shouldn't be going anywhere. So, what do? Let him play under his current contract. $21.5 million isn't cheap, but it's still money well spent for what the guy clocks in and does. And then, Malik Hooker provided a necessary floor for the Cowboys secondary last year. While he doesn't possess the elite range that made him a top college prospect, his diagnostic skills and positioning can help keep opposing offenses at bay at times. He remains the most disciplined deep half defender on the roster, and the team has little to no options behind him. While there's some cap savings to be had here, cutting Hooker is negligible, at least until the team can get reinforcements in the building. So what do? Let him play out his current contract. Hooker is like a good Wi-Fi signal. You don't really notice him until he's gone, and then suddenly, nothing works. And then we have Terrence Steele. Last year was a decent season for Steele, who is always at the forefront of any discussion regarding roster cuts. He remains a powerful run blocker, but his consistency in pass protection has been shaky at times. With the development of young tackles like Nate Thomas and a Johnny Cornelius, there is a range of outcomes that could see the Cowboys moving on from Steele. After all, there are savings to be had, as they could get out of a $13 million base salary by releasing him. 2025 is the year the team could responsibly get out of his contract, and that time is finally here. But can the team function without him? Moving on from Steele prematurely could create a massive hole on the right side of the line. So, verdict, wait and see. Steele is often a lightning rod for fan frustration, but the grass isn't always greener on the other side of the offensive line. The Cowboys are dealing with a delicate roster puzzle this offseason, balancing the need for financial flexibility with roster needs. While the notion to strip it down and rely on the draft is always tempting, the front office has tried that before, and it's never gone well. By forking out the dough to retain core playmakers, the Cowboys can use the draft to attack other areas on the roster where help is desperately needed. Success in 2026 will depend on whether the Jones family makes the correct investments, and those actions could have a lingering effect. And now we're going to take a look at our 2026 offseason preview of the quarterbacks. The Dallas Cowboys have a lot of work to do this offseason to get better results in 2026. One position that likely won't do much with, though, is quarterback. With both Prescott and Joe Milton III signed beyond next year and expected to return in the same roles, the only news at this spot may go no further than the practice squad. So, right now under contract is Dak Prescott. After what many considered a resurgent year for Prescott, the 32-year-old has a grip on the starting job as ever. Even if Dallas was waffling, his contract makes it a moot point until at least 2027. But an encouraging strong year in which Dak stayed healthy and played his way back into some MVP discussions offers hope going forward. He's always going to have his moments, but he was far from the reason that the Cowboys struggled last year. If anything, he was one of the few positives. Joe Milton III, with 2 years left on his original rookie deal, which Dallas traded a 4th-round pick to acquire last spring, Milton isn't going anywhere soon. He spent all the last season as the primary backup and could easily handle the same duties next year. At the very least, he'll be back to compete in training camp against whoever else the Cowboys might add. Milton's athletic gifts are undeniable, and this will be his first NFL offseason where he isn't adjusting to a new offense. And when you take a look at the free agents, we got Will Grier. The 7th-year veteran spent all of last season on Dallas' practice squad and is an emergency option only. He'll only be 31 after April, so there's no reason to think he couldn't return in the same capacity. He's well-liked, especially by Prescott, and must bring enough to the quarterback room and practice field that Dallas brought him back in 2024 after a nearly 2-year break. Boy, with only keeping 2 quarterbacks on the regular 53-man roster and at practice squad cost, he may find more work here. So what's needed? Well, that depends on how much they believe in Milton. A healthy season for Prescott could either be a sign of things to come or like a hot hand in Vegas. Rolling again with Milton as number 2, given Prescott's history, means you're running the big risk of him having to play meaningful snaps at some point in 2026. If you're okay with that prospect, then cool. But if you believe in this team's competitive chances next season, then do you want to leave your most important position to chance? Well, then, moving on to our next topic. The Cowboys aren't giving much hope in the way too early Super Bowl 61 odds. Tragically, the 2025 NFL season officially came to an end on Sunday night as the Seattle Seahawks hoisted the Lombardi Trophy for the 2nd time in franchise history with an emphatic 29-13 victory over the New England Patriots. The Cowboys' 2025 campaign, of course, has been over for more than a month now as America's team failed to make the playoffs for the 2nd straight year. And in finishing 7-9-1 with a Week 18 loss to the Giants, the Cowboys posted a losing record for the 2nd straight year for the first time since a trio of 5-11 finishes from 2000 to 2002. Combine all that with the fact that it's now officially been 3 decades since Dallas last won the Super Bowl, appeared in the Super Bowl, or even made it to the NFC Championship game for that matter, and fans are naturally a little antsy. So one would imagine those same fans aren't going to be overly pleased where the Cowboys landed in the way too early odds for Super Bowl 61. It should come as no surprise that the newly crowned champion Seahawks have the best odds to win Super Bowl 61 at plus 950, but Seattle isn't alone at the top. That's the team they defeated in an NFC title game, the Rams, have been given the same odds at plus 950. As to where the Cowboys stand, odds makers certainly don't seem to like their chances in 2026, as Dallas didn't even crack the top half overall, opening at plus 3,500, barely cracked the top half to win the NFC, coming in 8th at plus 1,700. While we didn't include divisional odds in this conversation, Brian Schottenheimer's squad is being given plus 280 odds to win the NFC East, trailing the Eagles, who are the clear favorites, at minus 115. The Commanders come in 3rd at plus 500, with the Giants bringing up the rear at plus 700. These numbers will undoubtedly fluctuate over the next few months as roster changes with franchise tags, free agency, the draft. But for now, that's the way too early odds for Super Bowl 61. Get your thoughts on all the topics we covered in the comment section below. If there's anything you disagree with, let me know. And with that, thank you so much for watching and listening. We will see you next time.